welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this dress. So it's for a client. So basically what I did here is just to fold my fabric into two, and then I folded the second one into two, but as you can see the second one is shorter in length. So what I have here is basically her shoulder to her waist, but it starts, so I'm going to explain everything. It starts at 5 inches. So basically let's start with the length. So I want the top to start at 5 inches on her, right? Sorry, at least 5.5 or 6 inches, depending on you where you want it to be. You can start at 6 inches, right? So this would normally be where her shoulder would start, but the strap is going to go on top of her shoulder, so that's why this is at this point. And then her shoulder to waist is at 18, right? So I added extra 1 inch of seam allowance, half an inch to fold the top part and half an inch to fold the bottom part. That's why you're seeing 19 here as the length. So now if you're looking, you see that the back panel has extra 1 inch here, and the length of the back panel stops a little bit, is not up to the 5 inches here. This one here stops at this point. We'll still get to that. And then let's talk about the width. So the width of my fabric is basically her bust divided by 4. Her bust measurement is 49. So divided by 4, that should be somewhere around 12.5 or so. Plus I added like 1.5 inch of seam allowance added to it. So that's basically the width of the fabric and the length. And then I have my seam allowance for the zipper at the back. So now let's go ahead and insert the measurements. So going back to her shoulder divided by 2 is, her shoulder is 17. So divided by 2 is going to give me 6.5. But since this is going to be a sleeveless, I'm going to remove at least 1 inch from it, or you can even do 1.5 depending on you. So if I do that, I'm supposed to use is 17. So divided by 2 is 8.5. So if I remove 1 from that, I should be at 7.5, right? If you want, you can even do remove 1.5, or you can measure on yourself from one point to the other where you want it to be, and then whatever you get, divide it by 2. That's the upper part of your body. You can divide, use that part to check. So I'm going to go ahead and mark mine now, and then on this line I'm going to place back my tape again. Like I said, everything is starting at this point of 5. Yours can be at 6. So at this point of 5, I put back my tape again, and then I'm going to add her armhole divided by 2. So it depends on you what your armhole is. So how you can calculate this length is basically you can do your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5, right? So her own should be somewhere at almost 11 inches. And then I'm going to connect it here. You see, I'm just marking everything from down at this point here, right? So once that is done, the next thing you're going to do is to insert her bust measurement. So like I said, her bust is 49. So divided by 4, mark that, and then my seam allowance. I'm just going to give it a curve from here all the way like this to this point here. And then once that is done, you're going to come down to the waist. All my measurements are starting from this point of my front panel. Her waist divided by 4 is, her waist is 44. Mark that here. And then I'm going to, divided by 4 is 11. So I marked it. And then I'm going to do extra 2 inches, right? Or you can do 2.5, 1 inch of your dart and 1.5 for your side seam allowance. Since I used 1.5 for the bust side seam allowance, I can also use 1.5 here. So let me just mark it at 2.5. And then I'm going to connect the 2 of them, and then you cut off the excess. So connect from this point here to the bust, cut off this excess, cut from here all the way up. So guys, you see I cut off this, cut off this. So now the next thing is I'm going to insert my dart. So for my dart, you're going to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2. So for her nipple to nipple measurement is 9 inches. So 9 divided by 2 is going to give me 4.5. Go ahead and mark it here. And then once you mark it, her dart is going to stop 1 inch before her nipple. So her shoulder to nipple is at 13.5. So my dart is going to come all the way from this point and stop at 14.5. So this is going to be my dart. Half an inch on this side, half an inch on this side, right? This is going to be my dart in front, and then this dart is going to, I'm going to notch it because it's going to go all over to the back. So it's going to go the two sides of the front, the two sides of the back, except at the back it's going to go all the way to the top of this. It's going to go all the way to the top like this, because normally your dart at the back goes up to your chest line. So my chest line is up here, right? My chest line is normally this, my armhole line. So if I go to check for the back now, the next thing I'm going to do is to cut it off straight line. Right, the back is supposed to go straight across, but if you want, you can still just reduce the length of the back and use something like this, but I want it to remain like straight across at the back. So let me go ahead and cut off this excess here. And when I'm cutting it, I just notice that I'm maintaining this line of my armhole, because the two sides will meet each other, so you need to maintain that same line for it. So I'm going to cut off this excess. Guys, it's not that you cannot make the front and the back have this you can make the two of them look like this, have this thing like a pinafore thing, both in front and the back, but that's not the style. The style here is that the back is just straight across, and then the strap is coming up from her back, right? So that means the strap at the back will be longer than the one in the front. So with that said, now the next thing I'm going to do is you will have to reduce the back length. If not, the flail will just drop at the back. So to do that, I'm going to come up here by 1 inch on this part that has the zipper allowance, right? And then I'm going to place my ruler in such a way that it blends into the this end here, this side, and then I'm going to mark it. And then I'm going to cut it off, because the center back is shorter than your front, right? That's your half length at your back, but the sides most times they remain the same, but the center back is not the same because there's no bust at the back. And then once that is done, I'm going to go ahead and split this back open, because this is where my zipper allowance will be, right? So let me go ahead and put back the notch again, so I know that this is the point where my dart will be. So that's basically it here. So all I have to do now is I have this here for my front panel, and then I have this two piece here for the back, right? So there will be a strap here, there will be a strap here, the same at the back. So let me go ahead now and start to insert my dart. Guys, if you want, you can also add a lining to this, right? So that once you turn it over, your lining will come out at the top. So guys, the next thing you're going to do is to make the tie that you're going to add to it, like this here. So basically I used about 5 inches of width, right? So that's when you fold it into two this way and you sew in ½ inch, you'll be left with 2 inches. But you can reduce it, you can do 4 inches of width, so that when you fold it into two, you can also take away your seam allowance from that. So now the next thing is that you can, if you want, you can use lining. So basically, if you're using lining, you're going to cut exactly the same pattern as this, like what I have here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to fit in your belt, but you're going to skip ½ inch by the end here and start somewhere after the ½ inch. So all you have to do is just put this in here, leaving at least ½ inch by the end here. Put the other one also in here, and then leaving at least ½ inch by the end here, right? And then you're going to put your lining on top of it, and then sew from this part, close it up all the way, come back down here, and then when you turn it over, you iron it. But since I'm not going to be using lining, I'm going to just use bias to do it. So I'm going to take my bias. So guys, the same thing still applies for this here. So just like that, I'm going to just take this bias tape here, sew it down, and then use it to turn this over, right? And once I'm done on this side, I'm also going to run it through the armhole, using that ½ inch I left here, and then using this one also by the side. The same thing for the back. I'm going to just take the back panel the way it is now. You're going to cut, if you're using lining, do the same thing, cut out your, so let's say this is one side of the back. At the point where your dart is supposed to be, that's where you're going to place your tape. So that's where you're going to place one of your belts. And then let's say this is your lining, you're just going to go ahead, put it on top here, close it up, and then once you're done, you turn it over and iron it You see, your belt will just come out by the end here. You iron everything down, and once you're done, go ahead and close up the sides. So I'm going to go ahead and do mine now and bring it back. So guys, once you put it together, so once you finished, like depending on what you use, lining or whatever you decided to use, like bias, you're going to go ahead, close up the side, measure your waist here and to make sure that is what you need, and then the bust also to make sure that is the exact measurement you're working with. Once that is done, we are going to set this aside, right? You see that the back is still open for our zipper allowance. So like, remember what we said before, the shoulder to waist of this dress is going to be 18, that's her half length, and the dress is going to be 42, is below her knee. So this 42, I'm going to subtract this from this, so I have about 24, right? So 24 is going to be the bottom layer of her dress. So just what you're going to do is your half length, subtract it from the full length. Whatever you get, 24 is what I got. You're going to use that, divide it. You can do like this is what you're going to use for the 2 layers of the tier. So I decided to do 10 inches for this middle one, 14 inches for the second one. Both of them will give me so like I said, the dress has the first bodice part, right, that has the sleeve. Then this tiered part, the first tiered part, which is this center part here, which is the bottom part of the dress. So this part here is the upper part of the dress, then the lower part of the dress, and then the tiered part, the second part, right? So these two here is what I'm going to divide this 24 with. So this upper part here, I want to make it 10. This lower part here, I want to make it 14 inches of length. Remember, we're still talking about the length here. So to this first layer, you're going to, whatever you decide the length here to be, add 1 inch to it. Whatever you decide the length here to be, add 1.5 to it. 1 inch here is because half an inch to join here and join here. 1.5 here is half an inch to join here, 1 inch to fold the end of the dress. You understand? So that's basically how you're going to do it. So that means I'm going to cut 11 inches length of fabric and 15.5 inches of fabric in length. And then for the width, what I'm going to do is round her waist. Like I said, this first part here is the upper part of the dress. So I'm going to measure round her waist, which is 44. I'm going to multiply it by, you can do times 2 or times 2.5. That's how you're going to get the first layer. And for her first layer, she wants to mix it in with black, which is what I've already cut here. So that's what is going to be her first layer, which is this. So this is what we are using for her first layer, is like times 2 of it, you see. So this is times 2 of her waist and is 11 inches of length. This is what we're going to use to make the tier of this one. And then the next layer, how you're going to calculate it is whatever you have as round the end of this one. So you're going to measure from the end here, come back again. Remember, this piece here is on a fold, right? So you're going to measure what you have at the opening here. Whatever it is, you're going to times it again by 2 or 2.5, depending on you. And that's how I have this lower layer. Her black fabric is not enough, so I decided to use her Kara to complete it. So you see, this lower one now is even longer. Is now even wider than this second one, you see. So it's added a little bit more to complete this one. This one here is like this, if that makes sense. So now what I'm going to do, you see, let me place it this way so you see all the lengths. So you see this here, you see the length here is extended a little here to make gather for this one. This one now is extended even more to make gather for this second layer. And then the length, if I talk about the length, is about 15.5. This one is 11 inches. And then this is 18 inches of shoulder to waist. But remember, we took away 5 inches here because of part of the strap. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead, join this to this, join this to this. So guys, the length of the dress depends on you. You can make it 3 tier, you can make it a 4, it depends on you. You can make it maxi. this person is quite short, so 42 is actually mid calf for her. So her full length is 52, but she wants the dress 42, so it's 10 inches added to it, and then it will just be maxi dress. Let's say this is the maxi dress, because the one on the thumbnail is maxi dress, but like I said, her own is just missing one more tier. Her fabric is not enough, and she also doesn't want it too long. So all you can do is just this first, all you need to do, the method still remains the same. It's just that the length here, you're going to add +1 to it. So let's say, like we did before, 10, let's say we have 10, 10, 14, right? So all you have to do is to this 10, the length, you're going to add 1 to it. So that means the length here is 11. The same here, 11. And then the here, you're going to add plus 1.5. So even if it's 4 layers, the only one you're going to add 1.5 to is the bottom one, because you need that 1 inch to fold the end, right? And then the width is just whatever you have at the upper part of each one, multiply it by 2. So since this first tier is attaching to this, I'm going to measure my waist. This is the half length, and times it by 2. Since this bottom one is attaching to the lower part, whatever you have here, multiply it by 2 or 2.5. Whatever you have at this upper part, that's multiplied by 2.5 or 2 is what will be the width of these ones, right? So that's how you're going to calculate the width for each of them as you're going down. So like I said, it depends on you how you want to change. Guys, this is it here. You see, I've finished it. So first I attach this to this, and then this bottom part to this. Let me turn it around so you could see the back. So this is the back here. Like I said, her black wasn't enough, so I just found a way to fit in this green into it. And you see, once it was done, all my the end of the fabric, they were all coming towards the back, and then that's what I used as the zipper allowance. So you see, this is my zip here, and that's basically it. So you see how the back is lower than the front, right? But like I said, if you want, yours can be the same length, and this is going to just be fitted on her upper body and then flay out at the lower part. So that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Guys, please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.